Single dad's touching bubble art saves girl in crisis. Incredible billionaire discovery revealed. Jake stood in the empty park with a heart full of hope, the morning sun glistening off the delicate bubbles dancing through the air. Each bubble he created was a world of its own, shimmering with colors that mirrored the innocent laughter of his daughter, Lily. In a forgotten corner of suburban America, he was more than just a single dad struggling to pay the bills, he was a magician, conjuring joy from liquid soap and air. Who would have thought a soldier-turned-pizza delivery guy could bring light to the shadows of their small town, but today, the park felt different. It was quieter. The laughter that once filled the air seemed overshadowed by the turmoil swirling within Mia, Lily's best friend. The impending divorce of Mia's parents wrapped around the little girl like fog, stealing her brightness. Jake's heart ached for her, the same way it ached when he returned from service, burdened but determined to protect Lily from the harshness of life. "Let us make bubbles," Jake suggested one afternoon, kneeling down beside Mia. Her eyes were dull, reflecting a storm of sadness, but he could see a flicker of curiosity. With a smile, he demonstrated. The bubbles soared high, swirling into the sky, and for a moment, Mia's frown faded. Just a flicker on the edges, but it was there. "Each one's a new beginning," Jake said softly, the words wrapping around them like a warm blanket. He remembered how after every tough night delivering pizzas, he'd come home exhausted but would still pop a few bubbles with Lily, filling their tiny living room with sparkling, floating dreams. Jake shared that magic with Mia, hoping it would cast a bit of light onto her troubled heart. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Jake had a shot at turning their lives around when he met a billionaire philanthropist interested in revitalizing the community. This was the chance to create art programs, to empower families. But just as hope began to bloom, whispers filled the air. Someone cast shadows on Jake's reputation when rumors bubbled up about his parenting. Were they true? The weight on his shoulders felt unbearable. At the charity event, the park bustled with excitement, but Jake sensed tension weaving through the crowd like unseen strings. Mia's smile fought against the fog of her sadness as she painted on her canvas. But as the first bubbles took flight, so did Jake's anxiety. Was he strong enough to face the judgment? He had to protect Mia and the bond they formed. The air crackled with anticipation. Would the community rally around the simple truth that love and family were worth fighting for, that even the hardest roads could lead to beautiful places? Tension simmered. The first bubble lifted into the sky, carrying more than just air. It carried dreams, hope, and perhaps, the promise of healing. As it bobbed up and away, Jake could only wonder, would they rise with it, or would doubt drag them back down? The crowd buzzed with chatter, and Jake could almost feel the weight of eyes on him. Whispers floated like the bubbles he released, some beautiful and fleeting, others sharp and stinging. He glanced at Mia, lost in her artwork, unaware of the weight the world pressed upon her. His heart tightened. She needed him to be strong. He had to find a way to push through the uncertainty. As the last bubble of the day drifted into the sunset, Jake's thoughts raced. The community had come out in droves to support this event. Each face was connected to a story, a struggle, or a dream, but right now, there were too many that looked at him with doubt. He was used to bearing burdens, but now it felt like they were piling up, a mountain of expectations that could crumble at any moment. "Are you okay, Mr. Jake?" Mia asked, breaking his reverie. Her voice was small, carrying a hint of worry. She was still grasping the paintbrush tightly, her small fingers showing the urgency of her need to cling to something real, something bright. "Yeah, I'm good, Mia. Just a little tired, I guess," he said with a smile that felt less than genuine. "Let us make more bubbles." Her eyes sparkled with a request that felt like a lifeline. Despite his heavy heart, Jake nodded, and together they moved to the small area set aside for bubble making. The world around them faded as he mixed the soapy solution, his hands almost shaking with anxiety. With each bubble they blew, moments of laughter burst forth, both Lily and Mia erupting in giggles as the bubbles drifted away in the soft evening breeze. For those brief moments, the noise from the crowd receded, and the worries faded, leaving nothing but the simple joy of creation. Just then, a sharp voice cut through the joyous air. "Look at him! What kind of father blows bubbles at his daughter's art show?" It was a familiar voice that sliced through Jake's moment of relief. It belonged to Beth, a former neighbor turned enemy, her tone dripping with disdain. Mia's smile faltered, and Jake felt like he'd been punched in the gut. She was already so fragile. Did she really need this? The laughter died down. All eyes turned toward him, insecurity boiling in Jake's chest like hot lava. This was what he feared most as parenting scrutinized, his unwavering love for his daughter thrown under the bus. Did they not see how hard he fought to create magic, even in the simplest form? "I'm here for the kids," Jake finally exclaimed, his voice louder than he intended, quaking with both anger and hurt. "I'm trying to bring joy. Isn't that what we all want?" Silence followed, and for a split second, he felt the energy in the crowd shift. There were murmurs, but he couldn't decipher the reactions. Was it anger, pity, understanding? He locked eyes with Mia, who looked both worried and confused. "We're creating art together, we're bringing joy." He gestured wildly at the bubbles glimmering in the dying light. "Doesn't that matter?" Mia stepped closer, her small frame a beacon of innocent strength. "It does matter. We are having fun." And just like that, a soft wave of understanding washed over the crowd. But as the tension began to dissolve, Jake noticed another face in the crowd. It was the philanthropist he had met earlier, watching with a knowing smile. A flicker of hope ignited inside of him, but the storm of doubt still raged. Would he still have a chance at the support he so desperately needed? As the last light of day slipped away, Jake's heart beat heavy with questions. Could he turn this around? Or would the shadows close in just as hope began to flourish once more? The next blow could either bind them together or tear them further apart. The crowd began to shift as the tension simmered. Jake felt the air crackle with uncertainty, a fragile truce weaving itself into the fabric of their evening. He glanced at Mia, her eyes a blend of confusion and hope. She needed their support more than ever. He couldn't let Beth's words snuff out the light they had just kindled. "Let us blow more bubbles," Mia urged, her voice rising with excitement as if she could pull the crowd along with her. Jake nodded, trying to embrace her enthusiasm. "All right, let us make this a bubble army." He reached for the wand, and with every swish through the solution, he could feel the weight of his thoughts lift just a little. Each bubble floated away, a miniature world glimmering in the dusk, a reminder of innocence and shared joy. As they blew bubbles, laughter broke through the lingering discomfort. Mia twirled, chasing the shimmering orbs with wild abandon. Jake joined her, matching her infectious spirit, even as his mind wrestled with doubts. Maybe this was enough. Maybe love, in this simple form, could mend the pieces of their lives. Then he heard it again, the sharp voice of Beth. "What are you, a clown? You think this is what she needs?" Jake's heart plummeted. For a moment, he wrestled with the urge to retaliate. Instead, he remembered Mia's fragile smile and how much her happiness depended on the environment he created for her. In that moment, he realized they didn't have to convince Beth or anyone else. The only approval that mattered was Mia's. "It matters to her," he shouted back, eyes blazing. "Kids need joy. They need freedom to be kids." He gestured again to Mia, who was now playfully popping a series of bubbles, laughter spilling out like music. "Look at her. She's not just fine, she's thriving." A murmur rippled through the crowd, and Jake noticed a few heads nodding in agreement. The shift in energy felt lighter, like a balloon filled with potential. The philanthropist in the back was smiling wider now, as if Jake had just unlocked a door he hadn't known existed. Could it be? Was there still a chance at redemption? As the moon climbed higher, casting a silvery glow over the park, another voice piped up from the side. It was Lena, Mia's art teacher. Sometimes, she said, her tone soft but confident, the most beautiful art comes from the most unexpected places. Watching Mia create, seeing her so happy, Jake, you're doing something wonderful. The warmth in Lena's voice was like a balm to Jake's wounded spirit. He turned to Mia, who was catching her breath, a bright smile illuminating her face as she watched bubbles soar higher. This was magic. This was everything. Feeling a renewed surge of purpose, Jake looked out at the crowd, gathering his thoughts. Let us celebrate art. Let us celebrate the joy of creativity. Who is ready to make this night an extraordinary one? He shouted, heart racing. The crowd slowly responded with cheers, catching the energy. Even Beth's sneer looked momentarily softened as a few people clapped and cheered him on. The laughter returned, blending together like a beautiful symphony made of relief, igniting hope in the air, and just as the atmosphere felt electric, the philanthropist stepped forward, an intrigued look on his face. Jake, he called out, catching Jake's attention, I believe we have some opportunities to discuss for Mia's talent and for you. Jake's mind raced. The shadows of doubt began to lift, and for the first time, he felt the tendrils of possibility wrapping around his heart. But was this the breakthrough he had been yearning for, or merely another fleeting chance that could slip away? As the night deepened, glimmers of hope intertwined with a sliver of dread. What if he failed to harness this moment? What would come next? The reality of a new journey lay ahead, and Jake took a deep breath, uncertain yet resolute. The stakes were higher than ever. The crowd's cheers echoed in Jake's ears, a sweet song of encouragement that momentarily drowned out the doubts swirling in his mind. He shifted his gaze back to Mia, who was elated, her fingers still dancing through the cascading bubbles. Each orb reflected a precious part of their night, the joy, the laughter, the strength he hadn't known he possessed. Then he heard the philanthropist's voice again, deep and steady. What is your vision, Jake? What do you see for Mia? Jake swallowed hard. The question hung in the air, a heavy weight pressing down on him. What did he see? As the bubbles floated around them, he envisioned a world where Mia could express herself freely. A space filled with colors, laughter, and galleries showcasing what came from her heart. I see her thriving in an art program, Jake began, each word gathering momentum. One that encourages kids to explore, to create, and to share their stories. I want Mia and others like her to feel seen. He glanced at Mia, inspiration stretching his heart. Her face sparkled in the moonlight, and he could see the passion she had for painting, for expression. Art can heal, he added, his voice stronger now. It can bring hope when everything else feels lost. The philanthropist nodded, his demeanor shifting from mere observer to a man caught up in the vision Jake painted. I've always believed in the power of art. What if we could start something together? Something that could change not only Mia's life but also others in your community? Excitement surged through Jake, unraveling the tendrils of fear that had gripped him tightly. Really? You mean seriously? Before the philanthropist could respond, he felt a tug on his shirt. It was Mia, wide-eyed and full of hope. Daddy, are we really going to do it? Have an art program? Like, with lots of kids? He knelt down to her level. Yes, sweetheart. If this works out, you'll have a place to create and inspire others. A beaming smile broke across Mia's face, transforming the air around them into a realm of pure possibility. Jake turned to the crowd, noticing faces animated with excitement and curiosity. But then, glancing over, he caught sight of Beth again. Her lips pressed into a thin line, an unyielding expression that sent a shiver through him. He could sense the eruption of tension in her stance, a storm brewing just beneath the surface. This is all just a show, Jake, she called, a fierce edge slicing through the joy. You're setting unrealistic expectations for Mia. What happens when it all comes crashing down? Those words struck him hard, the threat hanging in the air. What if she was right? Nevertheless, he held Mia's gaze, and a flicker of patience replaced his agitation. We're trying to create something real for her, Beth. Something that brings kids together. Isn't that worth the risk? The crowd buzzed with anticipation, and he could feel they were with him. But Beth's voice rang again, sharp as glass. What do you know about doing this? You're just a dad playing pretend. She needs stability, not fancy bubbles. Jake clenched his fists, but then, he felt Mia squeeze his hand, gently urging him to breathe, to remain calm. Art is a kind of stability too, isn't it? He replied, unsure, but determined. Glancing back at the philanthropist, he felt buoyed by a sense of unity, the shared belief in the magic of creativity sparking a fire within him. We're not just building a program, we're building a future. But even as hope soared, a whisper of dread lingered, creeping into his heart. What if Beth's doubt festered? What if everything he was fighting for crumbled under scrutiny? Could he truly protect Mia and help her flourish? Jake inhaled deeply, ready to face whatever was ahead. With the entire crowd watching, he raised his arms, filled with palpable energy. Who's with me? Who believes in the power of art? The jubilant outcry was instant, a chorus of excitement ringing through the park. But as the cheers blended with the wind, he couldn't shake the feeling of impending conflict that lay just ahead. This was just the beginning, and the greatest test was yet to come. The energy in the park pulsed like an electric current, igniting Jake's spirit. He could feel the cheers washing over him, but a knot still tightened in his stomach at the sound of Beth's voice echoing in his head. Doubts lurked in the shadows, but hope clung to the edges of his heart. He turned back to Mia, who was jumping with excitement, her eyes sparkling like the stars above. Do you know what this means, Daddy? She exclaimed, tugging his hand. We can make art, and everyone can see it. I can paint really big. He smiled, but inside, uncertainty nibbled at him. Yes, Mia, we can make it all happen. But what? She asked, tilting her head, her innocence lighting a path through his own confusion. Sometimes people don't believe in dreams, sweetheart, he began. He knelt down, wanting to ground her before the storm of reality crashed in. They think big ideas can't work, that there will be too many obstacles. Mia frowned, her tiny brow furrowing in thought. But that's silly. Art makes people happy. Her words struck a chord. As children skate by, laughter trailing like ribbons in the night, he felt that familiar rush of love for her unyielding spirit. You're right. Art does make people happy. And we're going to show them just how powerful it can be. As the crowd's jubilation lingered, Jake turned to face them with a newfound conviction. Let's create an inclusive art program. A place for every child to find their voice. Applause erupted once more, a wave of unity that filled Jake with warmth. But as the cheers rang loudly, the harsh reality of Beth's words still loomed ominously. What if the energy faded, leaving behind only disappointment and shattered dreams? Then a gentle hand touched his shoulder. The philanthropist was beside him, an encouraging smile on his face. I want to help. I can connect you with some folks who've made art programs work before. This doesn't have to be just a dream, Jake. Jake felt a rush of gratitude swell within him. I would appreciate that more than you know. Just then, Mia jumped into his arms, her laughter ringing throughout the park like music. Can we have a painting party? Like a giant bubble of colors everywhere. Her words ignited a vision of joy and creativity, and Jake found himself laughing along. What if this was the moment he could change everything, not only for Mia but for so many kids like her? He could feel the momentum building, like the swell before a wave crashing on the shore. Absolutely. A painting party sounds amazing. Just imagine. But even as those hopeful thoughts danced in his mind, the sharp sound of Beth's voice broke through again. You can't just play pretend, Jake. What if it fails? What will that do to her? He turned towards her, ready to respond when he noticed her son, Timmy, peeking out from behind Dad's legs. The boy's eyes were wide, fears marred by the outputs of doubt surrounding them. Jake's heart sank. "Hey, Timmy!" Jake called out, kneeling down to meet the boy's gaze. "What would you think of an art program? Would you like to paint with Mia?" Timmy hesitated, glancing at Beth, who stood stiff and silent. But as Mia's giggles filled the air, the tension broke. I like dinosaurs and rockets," he finally whispered. "Then we'll paint those too. Just imagine the biggest dinosaur you could think of on a huge canvas." Timmy's eyes lit up for a brief moment, then glanced back at his mother, gauging her response. Another wave of doubt washed over Jake. Was Beth right? Did he hold the power to inspire and build, or was he simply wishing on a star that could easily fade? Mia's optimism filled the space again, but Jake was stuck, facing not just Beth's disapproval but the weight of his worries. What would happen when the initial spark of excitement diminished? He straightened, filled with determination. "Art can change lives if we let it," he said, raising his voice to the crowd once more. "Let us be the difference." The crowd's cheers surged, but behind him, the storm of Beth's skepticism loomed heavy. The air thickened, and he couldn't shake the feeling this battle was just beginning. Mia squeezed his hand tightly, her small fingers grounding him. As they stood together, poised between dreams and doubt, he wondered, was he strong enough to protect those dreams? The next step loomed ahead, and with it, the question hung like an unpainted canvas: could he really change the world, or would it all come crashing down? A cool breeze swept through the park, mixing with the lingering excitement in the air. Jake glanced down at Mia, her eyes alight with possibilities, but the tightness in his chest reminded him of the uphill battle ahead. The lines between hope and doubt blurred, but he pushed forward. "Come on, kiddo, let us make our plan." He led Mia to a bench, surrounded by vibrant colors and laughter. As they sat, he rummaged through his notes, nervously tapping the pencil against the paper. "Okay, let us think big. What do we need for our painting party?" Mia's imagination soared. "Colors. And brushes. Lots and lots of brushes." Jake chuckled at her enthusiasm. "Right. And what about space? We need a place where all the kids can paint together. Can we get balloons too? I love balloons." "Yep. Balloons it is." Jake wrote it down, forcing a grin amidst the storm of uncertainty. The crowd around them continued to buzz as other kids joined in the gaiety. But Jake's thoughts drifted back to Beth and the skepticism that she carried. Who was he to think he could change anything? Daddy? Mia's voice broke through his thoughts, pulling him back to the moment. What if people don't come? Then we spread the word. Get people excited. He tried to sound confident, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. But, what if they don't believe in us? She pulled her knees up to her chest, a shadow crossing her face. All we need is one person to believe, he reassured her. That is how everything starts. One person. Mia nodded, but her expression revealed that she still felt the weight of doubt. He couldn't blame her. The air was thick with uncertainty and so many hurdles loomed ahead, but she also had him. They would figure it out together. Just then, the philanthropist stepped back into their space, bringing with him a wave of fresh energy. I got some contacts lined up who'll help sponsor you, he said, his face lit with enthusiasm. I can set up a meeting next week. Think about it, Jake. You're on the brink of something amazing. Really? That quickly? Jake felt a rush of hope coursing through his veins. The clouds of doubt momentarily dissipated. Yes. And I'll introduce you to people willing to mentor. This can become something real, Jake. Heart racing, Jake turned to Mia. See? People are starting to believe. Can we do it now then? She asked, eyes wide with excitement. Jake frowned, torn. I have to get the details sorted, sweetheart. Before she could respond, a shout echoed through the park. Hey, everyone! Time for a big announcement. A tall man stepped onto a makeshift stage at the edge of the park, clapping for attention. The crowd quieted, curiosity peaking. What's this about? Jake wondered aloud, uncertainty creeping back in. The announcer waved his hands for silence. We have something special coming up, folks. A community art festival. An opportunity for every child to showcase their creativity. The cheers erupted anew, sending shockwaves of hope through Jake. Was this the sign he needed? Mia bounced in her seat. Daddy, that's perfect for us. Yeah, he replied slowly, unsure. But so many people will have their own ideas. What if ours gets lost in all that? Then we'll make it stand out. Mia declared, eyes sparkling. Let us do it together. The passion in her voice ignited something inside Jake. He wasn't just fighting for a program anymore, he was fighting for their dreams, together. They had each other's backs, come what may, but what would that mean for them? Was this community festival their ticket to success, or would it dilute their vision? As Jake weighed the possibilities, one thing became clear, they couldn't let doubts win. The momentum was building, and now they needed to ride the wave of opportunity. Mia, let us get to work. He said, determination surging through him. They stood up, ready to dive into their plans, but another wave of his worries crashed over him. Could they really break through the noise? Or was this just another fleeting moment of hope, soon to be overshadowed by life's harsh realities? The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden rays that flickered through the trees. As Jake and Mia made their way through the park, their excitement began to blend with the nervous energy swirling inside him. Each step felt heavy with responsibility. Okay, sweet pea, Jake said, trying to mirror her enthusiasm. We need to come up with a name for our painting party. Something catchy. Mia's brow furrowed in concentration. How about art adventure? Jake chuckled. Art adventure. I like it. But what if we make it even more adventurous? Mia clapped her hands, her joy contagious. Ooh! Epic art adventure. Now that essay title. He exclaimed, scribbling it down. But we need a plan to get noticed. We should make posters. She bounced on her feet, eyes wide. And can we decorate them with glitter? I love glitter. Absolutely. He replied, feeling a flicker of optimism. We can create something colorful and fun so everyone in the neighborhood sees it. We'll hit every corner of the park with them. As they walked, Mia's footsteps were light, but Jacob's heart weighed heavier with thoughts of their future. Would the festival give them the platform they needed? Could they truly rally their community? A knot tightened in his stomach. The noise of laughter and conversation washed over them as they approached the park's fountain. There sat children gleefully splashing water, their giggles infectious. It reminded Jake of the joy he once had, the carefree days lost in life's layers. Daddy, look! Can we draw watercolors by the fountain? Mia pointed, her excitement propelling her forward. Jacob felt a smile break across his face despite the turmoil within. Of course. Let us grab our things. They settled on a bench nearby, surrounded by vibrant flowers and the cheerful sounds of the playground. As he pulled out their art supplies, he stole a glance at Mia, her face illuminated with joy. It was a powerful reminder of why they needed to make this happen. As they immersed themselves in painting, the world blurred around them. Jake felt alive, every stroke a tiny liberation against a backdrop of his worries. Mia's laughter echoed like music, invigorating his spirit. Look, Daddy! My butterfly is flying! She exclaimed, holding up her paper. The burst of childish creativity struck him like lightning, warming his heart. In those moments, everything felt possible. They could shake off all the doubts entirely, but maybe, just maybe, they held the key to their dreams in their own hands. Mia, he said cautiously, brushing a smudge of paint off his cheek. If we pulled this off, if the festival works, what do you want to do next? Her wide eyes sparkled even brighter, and she thought hard. I want everyone to paint. Then we can have a big art show. With trophies. Now, that's a dream worth fighting for, he said, meaning every word. The setting sun cast a warm glow over the park, and the air was filled with an uplifting energy. But in the back of Jake's mind, unanswered questions swirled. What if the skeptics were right? What if he let her down? Just then, a woman approached, her arms full of vibrant flyers. Hey there. Are you two artists? Jake stiffened slightly, wary. Mia just painted a butterfly. A beaming Mia said, her trust in strangers unwavering. The woman smiled warmly. That's wonderful. I'm from the festival committee. We're looking for volunteers to help out. Would you like to get involved? Mia. Jake said, excitement tinged with apprehension. This could be our chance, but even as hope flickered within him, doubts rushed back. Could they commit to something so big? Jake's heart raced as anticipation filled the air once more. Would this be the opportunity they had been waiting for, or just another fleeting chance slipping through their fingers? Mia jumped up, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Yes. Yes. We want to help. She tugged at Jake's arm, her enthusiasm breaking through his worries. Jake caught himself smiling, though uncertainty still brewed. All right, we'd love to volunteer, he said, forcing confidence into his voice. The woman beamed, handing them a flyer that promised community involvement and a chance to showcase their creativity. Great! We're going to need all hands on deck for the festival next month. And don't worry, it's going to be so much fun. She handed them both bright stickers that read Fest Volunteer. Mia squealed, sticking hers on her shirt like a badge of honor. As the woman walked away, Jake felt the weight of the flyer in his hand. This could be the spark they needed to ignite Mia's dream. Yet in the pit of his stomach, fear bubbled up. What if they couldn't pull it off? What if it overwhelmed them? Daddy, when do we start? Can we start now? Mia jumped up and down, oblivious to the doubts swirling around Jake. He looked around, the park beginning to dim as evening approached. How about we head home, grab some supplies, and brainstorm some more ideas? Mia squealed again, clapping her small hands. Yes. I want to make the best posters ever. As they packed up their art supplies, Jake couldn't help but feel his heart swell with pride. Mia's joy was infectious. He tucked the flyer safely into his pocket, letting hope trickle in. It was just a small step, but a step nonetheless. They walked home, Mia babbling away about colors and ribbons, her face alive with dreams. Jake listened, falling further into the rhythm of her excitement. But the closer they got to home, the heavier the doubt felt. Could they really get everyone engaged? How would they encourage the community to come together? When they reached home, Mia raced into the living room. I'll get all my crayons. She yelled, her tiny feet thumping against the floor. Jake smiled again as he gathered paper, glitter, and glue. He could picture it already, the festival buzzing with laughter, the canvas walls of their community alight with colors. The vision stirred something deep in him, pulling at his chest. Yet, usual worries crept in. What if no one showed up? He pushed those thoughts aside. They had a chance to make something beautiful here. Mia returned, her arms loaded with crayons, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Look, Daddy. I have all my favorite colors. Perfect. He said, leaning in closer. Let us make those posters. We need something that pulls people in, an invitation they can't resist. As they began to color, Jake became lost in the moment. Each splash of color was a promise, each glittery touch a whisper of possibility. For just a little while, the weight on his shoulders lightened. Mia giggled as she sprinkled glitter like confetti over her butterfly drawing. "It's magic!" she exclaimed. Jake laughed, the sound bubbling forth, feeling lighter. "It really is." But as the night deepened, a voice echoed in his head. What if the critics were right? What if all this was just a fool's dream? Mia stepped back to admire her work. "Look! Our posters will make everyone want to come." Jake nodded, trying to silence his inner doubts. "Exactly. They'll be amazing." And just as they finished their first poster, a shadow moved at the window. Jake turned abruptly, his chest tightening. Outside stood a man with an aura of confidence. Billionaire or not, he had that presence. He was watching them with keen interest. "What does he want?" Jake muttered, a mix of wariness and curiosity rising within. Mia tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, do you think he wants to join our art adventure?" Jake held his breath. Could this stranger hold the key to making their dreams a reality, or would he bring new complications into their world? The uncertainty hung heavily, and with that thought simmering in the air, a new challenge loomed just outside. Jake's heart raced as he tried to catch a glimpse of the stranger outside. The man stood tall, his arms crossed and a slight smirk on his face, as if he knew something Jake didn't. "Maybe he just wants to talk," Mia suggested innocently, her wide eyes shining with curiosity. "He looks nice." Jake didn't share her optimism. "I don't know, sweetheart. Sometimes people don't have the best intentions." But Mia wasn't deterred. "Let us see." She practically bounced toward the door, her excitement pulling him along. "Wait, Mia." Jake hesitated but knew he couldn't let fear get in the way of his daughter's enthusiasm. So he opened the door. "Hello." Mia's voice rang out brightly. "I'm Mia. Do you want to help us with our posters?" The stranger stepped forward, his expression shifting from bemusement to intrigue. "Mia, is it? I'm Daniel. Your posters." He looked past her at the colorful chaos in the living room. Jake introduced himself with a tight smile, trying to mask his apprehension. "What brings you here?" "I noticed you both from across the street. I thought maybe you could use some extra creativity over here," Daniel replied, glancing at the artwork on the table. "An art project, huh?" Mia jumped in. "We're helping with the festival. We want everyone to come and have fun." The man chuckled softly, his eyes sparkling. "That's quite ambitious for just the two of you." Jake felt an unsettling tug in his gut. "We believe in it. We have a plan." "What kind of plan?" Daniel inquired, leaning down to meet Mia's eager gaze. Mia poured out her ideas, her words tumbling over one another as she laid out the concept for the festival: games, food, laughing children. Her pure enthusiasm hung in the air, creating a magical moment. "That sounds amazing," Daniel said, clearly impressed. "But running a festival isn't easy. You'll need help from other people and maybe a little financial backing." Jake bristled at the mention of money. "We're not looking for handouts. Just community support." "Of course," Daniel acknowledged smoothly, his tone remaining even. "But sometimes getting things off the ground requires more than that. I could provide some resources, and maybe help bring in a few more hands." Mia's eyes sparkled. "You would? That would be so cool." Jake felt torn. The offer seemed too good to be true, and the protective instincts within him rose to the surface. "What's your angle? Why would you want to help an art project like this?" "I have my reasons," Daniel replied casually, but the fleeting shadow on his face told Jake there was more to the story. "Let's just say I appreciate creativity. It brings people together. I would hate to see you both fail when you're so full of hope." Jake swallowed hard. Here was a man who could help them, yet something felt off. It wasn't just the man's ambition, it was his air of confidence that made Jake uneasy. Mia clapped her hands. Oh. Can you come in and see our posters?" Jake knew he needed to protect Mia, but he also saw her passion spilling over like glitter from the drawers. Perhaps, just this once, trusting was the right thing to do. A partnership could ignite their vision. All right, Jake conceded, feeling his instincts battling against his desire to do the right thing by Mia. Maybe you can take a look inside. As Daniel stepped into their home, the warmth of possibility flickered in the air. Could he help them, or would he complicate things even more? Jake watched Daniel examine the posters, but as he did, something odd flickered across the man's face, an expression that didn't match his charm. What was that? Jake thought, concern bubbling beneath his heart. But before he could dwell on it further, Daniel's eyes lit up with an idea. What if we add a talent show to the festival? I think I know a few people who could help with that. At that moment, a mix of hope and apprehension filled the room. What would this new idea lead to? And was it the beginning of something amazing, or the start of a tangled mess for Jake and Mia? The night deepened, and as they talked, the uncertainty loomed larger than ever. The festival date loomed closer, a bright beacon shining on the horizon. Jake and Mia worked tirelessly, fueled by excitement and dreams, but every moment was a constant battle against doubt. Daniel became a frequent visitor, his energy infectious as he threw ideas around like confetti. The more they discussed, the clearer it became what they were building was not just an art festival, it was a lifeline for the community. As they plastered the neighborhood with their colorful posters, Jake felt a shift in the air. Neighbors began to respond with smiles and nods, curiosity ignited. Children joined Mia, creating art and sharing ideas as laughter filled the spaces once quieted by uncertainty. Little by little, tapestries of community began to weave together, bringing back the brightness that had faded over time. Mia beamed with pride, showcasing her talent to those who stopped by. Jake watched her, heart swollen with love and gratitude. This was everything he wanted for her, a chance to shine, a space to be heard. But with every joyous moment, a flicker of anxiety darted through him. Daniel's voice echoed in his mind, getting funds, maintaining momentum, and most importantly, managing expectations and dreams. Amid the hustle, the day of the festival finally arrived. The park was alive with color, a vibrant canvas stretching before them, filled with smiling faces and laughter echoing like music. Jake stood by the registration booth, feeling the palpable energy shoot through the air, his heart pounding. Would it all collapse? Would the critics come? Even so, as kids dashed around with paint on their faces, joy radiated from every corner. Mia, with a paintbrush in hand, stood amidst her peers, painting a giant mural. The sight of her glowing with fervor set off a wave of warmth spreading through him. "Look, Daddy!" she called, glitter shimmering in her hair. "This is our dream." Jake swallowed the lump in his throat, pride overwhelming any remnants of fear. In that moment, he realized that whether the festival was a success or not, he'd already won. He had facilitated growth for Mia and transformed his own heart. "Can we blow some bubbles?" Mia asked, bouncing on her feet, eyes sparkling with excitement. "Of course, sweetheart. Let us spread the magic," he replied, picking up the bubble wand. It felt like the world slowed as they shared a laugh, blowing bubbles that danced across the park as a reminder of the joy woven into every moment. Just then, a familiar voice cut through the laughter. "Can you really call this a festival?" Beth appeared again, her arms crossed, an incredulous expression on her face. "What a mess!" Jake's heart sank, the shadows from earlier creeping back. But he remained steady and turned to Mia, who was blissfully unaware, giggling amidst her friends, creating memories that would last a lifetime. "People support what they believe in, Beth," he said firmly. "And we're building something real here, something kids can believe in." His words hung in the air like the bubbles that floated above them, fragile yet full of promise. To his surprise, murmurs of support rippled through the nearby parents. "He has a point," one voice called out. "Kids deserve a place to explore their creativity." For every dark word Beth threw, brighter sparks emerged. Jake felt the tide shift, the light of community igniting hope in his heart. The festival soared through the day, with art installations, laughter, and smiles all intertwined. And then, in a moment that would change everything, Daniel took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we've seen creativity blossom today, and it's time we share some exciting news, he began, his tone captivating. Jake felt nervous but hopeful, drawing strength from Mia. To support this wonderful event and future endeavors, I'm excited to announce that I'll be funding an art program. We'll be holding workshops and classes for the months to come. The crowd erupted in cheers. Jake's jaw dropped, disbelief and relief flooding his heart. Mia bounced on her feet, her joy infectious, and for the first time, he let go of the doubts that had weighed so heavily. That evening, as families gathered, laughter echoed through the park. Jake pulled Mia into a warm hug, her arms wrapping tightly around him. "We did it, Daddy," she squealed, her eyes reflecting 1,000 dreams coming true. "Yes, we did," Jake whispered, blinking back tears of joy. They had faced weathered doubts, transformed fears into trust, and painted a future with spontaneous bursts of color. The festival was just the beginning, but in Jake's heart, he knew that with community, love, and creativity, they had turned their lives around. This was home, a vibrant tapestry where every thread mattered, where every bubble had a story. This was their moment, and now, if you're inspired by Jake and Mia's journey, you need to subscribe now to the channel. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that lift you up. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and send a spark of joy into the world. Comment with your feelings about this transformation. And please, share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need a burst of inspiration in their lives. Let us spread this magic together. Take action now.